Good afternoon, everyone. From 4E, the chairperson. Okay, right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Hannah O from 4E, the chairperson of the English Award Scheme. On behalf of EAS, I would like to thank all of you for supporting us here today. My topic is Flip Your Near Win, Failure Precedes Success. So let's take a look at the screen. Everyone must have failed at least once in their lifetime. It can be friendship, relationship, schoolwork, etc. Now recall your experience. Which of the following best describes you after failure? Investigating the reasons for your failure? Or this one, going to sleep and forget about everything? Or even feeling depressed or excessively guilty? I believe all of you have heard of the phrase, failure precedes success, or in other words, failure is the mother of success. So today I'm going to talk about the F word, the word that is greatly feared, failure. Speaking of failure, do you remember the last time when you nearly won but failed at last? Was it a disappointing fourth place in the music festival or the speech festival? Or was it about getting the fourth in sport events? Now that's what we call a near win. So a near win means that you have nearly won, and so in other words, you lost. These experiences are unavoidable for all, and I believe everyone has at least one of these experiences. To many, failure is unacceptable. We are taught to be ashamed of our failures, to hide them from our family and friends. However, ask yourself, is this really the right attitude? Earlier this year in May, a group of youngsters set up an exhibition, not any normal ones, but one that displays many stories of failure. Surprisingly, many public figures, despite being successful in our eyes, have gone through heartbreaking experiences of failure at some point of their lives. So on your right-hand side, you'll see an exhibition board on which our CNET teachers and students all wrote their own stories of failure. We do hope that their courage to share their experiences will inspire all of you. So as everyone did, I myself have gone through devastating experiences of failure. In your eyes, I might be a rather successful person, but there's no denying that I have failed too. Here I would like to share a brief story of my failure. As some of you may know, last year I joined a science program which aims to select 6 Hong Kong representatives for an international science competition. It was a mouth-watering opportunity, yet over 500 students competed for it. After rounds of elimination, I made it into the last phase, in which 15 of us competed for the 6th seat in the Hong Kong team. As a science lover, I was so passionate and I really look forward to being one of the representatives. Unfortunately, the program clashes with my final exam. So as a typical Lam Woo, I focused on my exams first, thinking that I could make it into the Hong Kong team with the last bit of time, but it was not the case at all. So you might have guessed it already. I nearly got it, but I failed to enter the Hong Kong team eventually. From the program, I realized how strong people outside can be and how narrow my scope of horizons was. I really appreciated how they actively questioned what we are taught, as well as their passion and curiosity of learning. As the Chinese saying goes, the top of a mountain is always the bottom of another. When I first received the bad news, I asked myself, why did I fail even though I paid great efforts throughout the year? To learn how to tackle a failure, we first have to understand why we have to fail. By human nature, we all desire success and avoid failure, yet failure is indeed an essential part of our lives. A very true quote from the great author J.K. Rowling. It is impossible to live without failing at something, unless you live so cautiously seriously that you might as well not have it at all, in which case you have failed by default. Why do we have to fail? Failure is the stepping stone to success. Through failure, we learn 3 important lifelong lessons. First, failure develops our resilience. What is resilience? It is our ability to recover quickly from difficulties. Take running as an example. Everyone falls down at some point, and we all feel pain when we fall. Biologically, the more your skin gets injured, the tougher your skin becomes to prevent itself from being injured again. In the science program, we were asked to digest year-long science topics within months, which is definitely challenging and frustrating. Without resilience, it would be impossible not to give up. I still remember how I failed all my physics past papers, yet I still did not give up, and eventually I managed to barely pass. When I was still so excited, I realized that the whole class passed with flying colors, so basically I came last. Though I was a little disappointed, I realized not to compare myself with others, but instead play your part well and hold on with resilience. Second, failure brings us knowledge and experience. I believe all of you have heard of Thomas Edison's story, who famously failed 10,000 times to invent the electric light bulb. It was the accumulated knowledge from the countless times of failure that ultimately led him to success. He once said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Taking my sample, I've surely learned a lot from the science program despite failure, both academic knowledge and working skills. Indeed, the experience of failure completely alters our mindset. So the more we fail, the more mature we become, and the more prepared we are for the next challenge ahead. Third, failure helps us overcome fear. It's the fear of losing that keeps us from trying hard and brings along anxiety and stress. And the best way to overcome this fear is to experience failure boldly. As you can see from this picture, team spirit can really help us boost our courage in times of failure. So after multiple failures, you'll soon realize that failure isn't that scary after all. Now think about this. When you were learning how to walk as a baby, how many times have you fallen down before you could master your walking skills? If you have never fallen down, how could you possibly learn how to walk? Simply speaking, failure is just something that everyone must face and should face. And thus, let's move on to talk about how we should tackle failure. So let's come back to the quote, "Failure precedes success." While all our parents and teachers taught us that failure is the key to success, is it always the truth? I believe failure will surely lead you to success if and only if you learn something from it. In reality, human beings tend to forget about failure as soon as possible. However, instead of failing fast, I believe we should fail mindfully. So what exactly is a mindful failure? Failure is a teacher, and a mindful failure is one that consists of your own reflection after the teacher's lesson. In order to let you guys understand how we can fail mindfully, let's now invite Ms. Lam to come on the stage and share her experience of failure.
Hey everyone, so I want to talk about my experience of failure, and this one actually relates back to when I was in college. Just at the end of summer, I had received my results for the exam. So at this time, I did English literature, maths, economics, and chemistry. Now all 4 subjects failed. Of course, I was really upset because I knew that I did really bad, but not bad to the point I had failed everything. So of course, I was devastated with myself. But at this point, I spoke to my teacher, and then they told me I had to retake these exams. So I thought, okay, I can do that. But come summertime, coming back to our second year of school, I was then told I could not study here anymore. I was Testing. Okay, we're back. I was told that I could not study at the school anymore. So not only had I failed my exam, I was not allowed to retake it in that school. I had to go find a new school last minute. And then, to cut long story short, I guess, I finally found a new school. I worked really hard for the next 2 years. I put my effort and work into my studies, and finally I achieved the grades that I needed to go to university. And at this point, what did I do? I did much better than what was expected of me. And that's something I can say I was proud of once I completed it. Thank you.
So thank you, Ms. Lam. Indeed, failure is inevitable for all. So what exactly should we do about failure? Let's move on to the flip part. F for feel. The first step is to accept your feelings. A very personal experience. When I failed to enter the Hong Kong team, most of my friends tried to comfort me by saying, let it go or forget about it. True, distracting yourself may help you temporarily put down your unsettled thoughts. Only temporarily, though. If you suppress your emotions, they constantly come back to you and even haunt you from moving on in your life. What I believe is that instead of seeking distractions, allow yourself to feel sad. Ask yourself, how do I feel and why? If crying helps, then cry. If sleeping helps, then sleep. It's important to understand that it takes time to recover, so there's no rush in persuading yourself that you are feeling okay. Instead, reach out to people whom you can trust and share your own true feelings with them. Nevertheless, it is unnecessary to endlessly extend our sadness. So here comes the next step. L for learn. Failure is a stepping stone to success only if you learn something from it. I believe Ms. Lam has surely learned a lot from her experience of failure. So would you share with us what you have learned?
So from my experience, I have learned that it does not define you if you fail, as long as you learn from it, as Anna has mentioned. For me, that was one of the hardest things I had done, but in retrospect, I'm really glad it happened because it changed my outlook, it made me think more clearly about what I wanted in my future. And something else I've also learned was at the time, I knew that I was struggling, but I was too scared or lazy to ask my teachers for help. So something else that's really important. Don't be afraid to ask people for help. They definitely want to help you. You just have to ask for it.
So thank you, Ms. Lam. In short, failure is a process of reflection on yourself to realize your mistakes and, more importantly, to address them positively. Moving on, I for improve. Undoubtedly, it's useless if you do not put failure's lesson into practice. As the old saying goes, actions speak louder than words. Think about how you can integrate what you have learned into your everyday life. Mr. Andrew, it seems that you have something to share with us. Mr. Andrew, please.
So my story of failure comes from, I play American football. I've played it for quite a long time now. It was in my 4th year at university. I was really looking forward to being able to play. I was going to be first team. I was really looking forward to it. And then in a training session 2 weeks before our first game, my shoulder got dislocated, so it came out of the socket. It was really painful, so I couldn't play. I couldn't play for the first half of the season, and I was really disappointed. I was very sad. I thought about quitting the team because I couldn't actually do anything, but instead I decided to take the opportunity to improve. So I kept on going to training. I helped out my coaches. I helped out the rest of the team, and I think it made me a better player because I think. Even if failure isn't always in your control, what is in your control is how you respond to the failure. And we'll give you back to life.
Thank you, Mr. Andrew. From his experience, I'm sure that all of us have learned how failure can improve our attitudes and beliefs, and even change our entire lives. But again, if and only if you're willing to improve. So after improving and equipping ourselves, it's time to move on. Lastly, P for proceed. You may see failure as a stone that trips you over. So now the most important part comes, changing that stone into a stepping stone that helps you proceed to success. Most of us may fear to start a new journey right after failure, and so do I. We're all afraid of disappointing our most beloved ones again and again. Yet, never let your failure determine who you are. Bearing what you have learned, you can surely do better in the future. There is no guarantee on whether you'll fail again, but I can be sure that your companions in life would be the most disappointed if you refuse to try again just because of one single failure. Who knows, it might be the critical step for your success. So here comes the conclusion. As the old saying goes, sometimes misfortune is a blessing in disguise. I believe everyone, if not all, then most of us have experienced failure in our lives, big or small. Even if you did not join programs like I did, it's certain that everyone has made mistakes or regret doing something in our lives. We all inevitably get frustrated after failing to meet a certain goal, yet keep in mind that it's certainly worth a try. Perhaps failure is the best gift and opportunity to reflect on what you have done well and what you could have done better. Eventually, I thank myself for taking up this challenge even though I failed at last. Before you leave, I wish you remember how we flip. Feel, learn, improve, and proceed. I wish my experience gives you some insights on the meaning of failure. That is, to change and prepare ourselves for another round of life challenges. So here comes the end of my talk today. Thank you.